Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Peachy from Wisconsin Connections Academy, and I had some questions about how to make a line graph using Microsoft Word. You can also do this in Excel, but I prefer to use Word for your science lab reports because they are better integrated as part of the larger document, and I'm not very good at using Excel, so that's something that I could probably use to improve on. To do this, you have a toolbar at the top of the screen, and what you're going to be doing is go to Insert, and you're going to go over to where it says Chart. So we're going to click on Chart, and I'm going to choose the line graph, and I like the line graph with markers. I like that one because it shows me my data points. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one and click OK. And that's just going to bring up like a generic line graph with a generic data table. So the hardest part is to figure out what gets entered in each column and how many columns do you need. Depends on how many lines you're going to have on your line graph. For the most part, you're only going to be comparing two variables. So your independent variable or your manipulated variable goes on the x-axis, and the dependent variable, also known as the responding variable, goes on the y-axis. So if that's the case, then I don't need to have series 2 or series 3. So these here are, this is data I don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and, got like a little bit of a, there we go. Just delete that out of there. And in fact, I want to delete these columns altogether, but I can see, I'm seeing bright lights right now. Okay, I only need 2 columns, so that gets rid of 2 of them. So and the first column is going to give me the identifications of so this would be whatever's on the x-axis. So let's say for this particular lab, you change the temperature. So that's your manipulated variable. Okay, it tells me that I also don't need this information here. Okay, so this might be volume, and volume is in cubic centimeters, right? So, and temperature is going to be in degrees Celsius. Okay, so I'm going to delete that here. I'm going to put temperature at the top. And we can start here. Oh, I lied to you. I'm sorry. For this particular lab, it's temp in Kelvin. That's what we did. So I can start here, and this is just made up numbers, guys, so try not to follow my data. So I put 273 as my first temp at 4.3 cubic centimeters, and I'm going to go up at intervals of 100, I think. We'll do intervals of 20. 293, and I'm going to go and change my volume a bit to 303 is 10. So 313. Okay, and we're going to go down to 3.5. 333. Go down to 3.0. 353, we can go down to 2.6. Okay. So I'd like to get my kind of picture out of the way here, but as you can see on the graph, now each one of these data points represents the volume at a specific temperature in Kelvin. That's kind of what you were trying to show on this first portfolio for physical science. So what you can do is you can also add some things to this here. You can, if you go up here, you can go to Format, Design. Oh, here we go. It says Add Chart Element, so that's what I want. I'm going to move my little viewing box over a little bit. So we can add a chart title, okay? So we can call this one Temperature of, I should say temperature at, we'll call it this way, volume at specific temperature intervals in Kelvin. Titles, for the most part, are really boring and descriptive in science. They're not creative and interesting, okay? You can also add, what I would recommend adding is axes titles. Primary horizontal axis, we did this one. That's here. So this is going to give me volume. And actually this one I believe was temperature Kelvin. Okay. And then we can do add another chart element. We'll do the primary vertical element. Kind of highlight that and delete it and put volume in cubic centimeters. Okay. So that gives me that. The other thing that you can do is you can go to Quick Layout, and we'll give you various layouts. And I kind of like this middle one here because it not only gives me the chart, but it also gives me the data table. So I can X out of this little Excel window, and that goes away. And that really wouldn't print anyways there. But I can select the, again, I can select the Quick Layout right up here, and I can change it so that my data does show. So there's a variety of different ones. This one just gives us the most complete data set. And I do like having, you know, the lines on there and stuff like that. This one's going to kind of bring the lines down to the x-axis. This one gives you you know, the data points, but it doesn't give you the actual rough data. So your better bet is to have the one where you get both the rough data in a data table as well as the data in graph form. So that's pretty much it. That's how you make a graph in Microsoft Word. You can, you know, use the same kind of the same process to do a bar graph or pie graph or anything else. It's just that when I selected line graph at the beginning, you would have selected bar or pie. But remember that in science, when we're looking at comparing two variables and seeing how one variable affects another, the line graph is what you want to use. Bar graphs are used for comparing things side by side, such as maybe comparing student averages, you know, from, let's say, 4 different grade levels might give you a good bar graph. And then pie graphs are comparing parts of a whole, right? So you might look at the whole school population and what percentage of students have A's, what percentage have B's, what percentage have C's, and so on and so forth. So as always, if you have questions, if you are needing some further clarification, you can give me a call. My extension is 2204, or drop me a webmail. Have a great day, everybody.